Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today, as you can see, that I extended our room a little bit. I just went ahead and added another L shape to these sides to make our room a little bit bigger because I want to go ahead and add a pretty large throne to sit back here. Or if you guys went ahead and did the high backed benches to kind of like sit along the back edge here, that would probably fit in really well. But basically, I wanted a 2" by 2" throne to sit back here on a platform, so it's pretty large and kind of like overseeing everything that's going on in this room. You know, something kind of intimidating looking. So we're gonna go ahead and just hop to a new layer. We already know what size we want, but we're just gonna do Shift A and do mesh, and I want to start with a cube. And of course, in your scenes tab, I will be working in inches, and I changed the scale of my grid floor to 1/4 of an inch. I'm just gonna go ahead and rename this throne. So once we import that in, it is set to 6 inches, which as we know is too large. I wanted to do 2 inches by 2 inches, and I wanted the start of it to be 1/4 of an inch high. So I'm just gonna focus in on that. I'm going to hit 3 to go to the side view. And to use my grid properly, I want to go ahead and make this fit. So I'm going to grab the Z axis and push it down to where it fills in one of these 1/4 inch grid squares so we can utilize the grid a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and tab into edit mode. I'm going to switch to face select mode and just select our top face here. Now I just want to go ahead and do E to extrude and size that in until we are in 1/4 of an inch. Hit 3 for side view and do E to extrude again. And if you want, you can snap to our grid spaces. So if I hold Control and move up with our Z axis, it will automatically snap to our top grid piece there, which is exactly what I want. So that's our first step. I'm going to go ahead and do E to extrude again. Size that in to our next grid piece and E to extrude, and this part is actually going to be the base of our throne, so I'm going to leave that as is. So we have 2 stairs essentially, and then this is where we can go ahead and actually sit. Now I want to just go into top view, do Control R, scroll up once so I can get 2 loops. You'll notice that they are angled and I don't want them like this. So what I'm going to do is Alt right click one of the loops, do SX0, enter, Alt right click the other one, SX0, enter to the other loop. That way they're nice and parallel. And now they're sized so that way these are smaller than our center. So that way these can be pulled up to be the arms of our chair. So we'll also want a back to our chair. So I'm going to do Control R and pull this back. And I actually want to make the back so that way it is on this grid line. So I'm just going to move it there. You can, if you want, do the SY0 to make it flat horizontally, but it doesn't really matter for this instance. So I'm just going to leave it. Now, before I continue, I think I want to go ahead and do Control R and just leave it right in the center and go ahead, whoops, grab this whole side here, X, delete those vertices and add a mirror modifier. That way we only have to do this one side, and I'm going to go ahead and check clipping to make sure that these guys are stuck. Okay, so now that we have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and switch to face select again. And I'm going to grab these 3 faces here. And we're going to do E to extrude and pull that up. I'm going to go back into side view so that way I can go ahead and pull that to this grid line again. That way it's a nice deep seat. And then I want to go ahead and just deselect this edge. So we just have, deselect this face. So we just have these 2 selected. And do E to extrude again and pull that up to right about there. And of course you can hold Control again if you want it to snap. And then what I want to do is I'm going to do Control R through the center of our arm. And since edge select is already clicked for us, we'll go ahead, grab this edge and this edge. I'm going to pull that up to go right about there. do add modifier and subdivision surface so we can start getting a nice curve, but I want to go ahead and sharpen a lot of what's going on. So I'm going to switch to vertex select, Z for wireframe view, and first thing I want to select this whole bottom, sharpen that, and sharpen a lot of other edges. So I want this top edge, and I actually want this guy right here. We want this. We want our seat creased. Shift E for there. Okay, and of course you can either leave this rounded, or if you want to, you can sharpen that. For now, I'm gonna leave it rounded, but I'm probably gonna go ahead and do Control R and bring this up so it's a little less dramatic and just a little bit nicer and looks more purposeful. I do like having these pointed, but I'm thinking I don't want it as tall as I currently have it. So what I'm gonna do is just go into wireframe view, grab these guys. I'm gonna pull this down to be more like this. So that way this is a little bit more of a gradual curve, but these guys are also still in proportion to that. So it's less dramatic, but still pretty bold of a chair, I would say. Now from this, I kind of want to imitate how we have our pews. So if we grab these two faces and do E to extrude, and I'm going to size this in, and you'll notice it's sizing in along the Z more than the X. So I'm going to get the X a little bit evened out. Go into side view, E to extrude. I'm going to pull that back. I need it dramatic so that way it prints out properly. So I'm probably going to pull it back to this line here, just as some sort of guide. You don't have to pull it back exactly there, just kind of wherever you feel comfortable. Now I have to sharpen a lot of that so that way it reflects how I want it to be. So let's do Shift E, and you'll notice that there's some of this kind of weird webbing going on, so you will have to grab these edges here to kind of fix that. So grab these guys, Shift E, and that'll fix any mesh issues where it's trying to like still smooth out these faces here, but these are creased, so it's, you know, having issues. So make sure you grab these, these guys as well to have it nice and flat for you. Okay. So now that that's taken care of, you can go ahead and add a number of different things to this. So if you haven't seen the pews, let's go ahead and focus in one of those. So you'll notice I just went ahead and added some of the arches on the inside of that, so you could emulate that if you're interested. But I'm thinking I want mine to be a little bit more intimidating. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and grab these skulls that we got from Thingiverse, which again, I'll have to link that down below. If not, it's just a low poly skull on Thingiverse that I've been using. So that way it's, you know, detailed enough, you know what it is, but it's not a ton of geometry. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll probably put some of those kind of stacked in here, but I'm gonna wait on that. I want to go ahead and add a few more details to our throne first, so I wouldn't mind adding some cushions. So if we switch back to face select and grab our two backs here, we'll do E to extrude, and we're going to size that in. And again, it's sizing along the Z much more than the X. So I'm going to size it along the Z a little bit more. Looks pretty good. And I do want this actually already creased, so it's kind of nice that that's there for us. So we're going to hit E to extrude. I'm going to go into side view, pull that out, but this part I don't want sharpened. So I'm going to hit Shift E and just draw that in to unsharpen that to get a nice kind of pillowy look to this. And actually what we can do is pull this out. See, more like that. And I want kind of the same on the bottom. So I'm going to do these two faces, E to extrude, size that in, push along the X a little bit more, E to extrude, pull that up, Shift E to unsharpen that. Actually, we might do a little bit of sharpening to make it a little bit taller and more dramatic. And another thing we could do is grab these three vertices, pull them back, so that way we could actually pull this up to give that more of a dip if you're interested. And if you wanted, you could even try to subdivide these a little bit. So if we made these a little bit more even, actually they kind of are, what we could do is grab these two, hit W, subdivide, so that way we get multiple faces in here. Now what we can do with all of them selected, hit Alt P for the point tool, and then hit F6, and if you notice, it'll start to draw it out, which isn't what you usually want for the point tool because it's having issues with our mirror modifier. So I'm just going to set that to 0. Switch to vertex select mode, just grab our actual verts that we need, go into front view, and just pull them up. And then you kind of get that cushioned fancy look if you're interested. I do think I want to pull this out. Make that a little bit more sharp actually. So that way it looks more square and purposeful. And we can do the same thing to this. So right now I want to do SZ0 to make sure it's good. Bring this up to kind of where our center is, maybe about there. Do W, and we're going to hit subdivide, and it kind of kept our angles here, and I want to see how that'll look. So it's already selected, so we're just going to do Alt P. I'm going to hit F6 to make sure it's still at 0. It is. I might actually see, oh, it does pull it out for us properly. So I might do side view, push that back in a little bit. It's be more like that. And actually, grab this edge, do Shift E. And same with this edge down here. And you'll notice there's a little bit of discoloring here. So what we'll do is grab this edge here, do Shift E, and I won't sharpen it all the way, but just enough to get rid of that discoloring because it's having issues with the mesh again. And I'll probably do the same down here and make sure it's nice and smooth. So now we have our cushions on the chair. You can go ahead and add a few more details if you're interested. You could even do, we go into side view. You could push these back if you wanted this to be more dramatic and coming out and over, which I don't think I will do. Our chair is rather large. It's 1 inch deep. So this is pretty big, but our back itself is 3/4 of an inch. So our seat itself, or I'm sorry, 1/4 of an inch for the back. So 3/4 inch deep chair. This is a huge chair. So if you wanted it to be more realistically sized, you could of course size this in, but I want mine to be pretty oversized and dramatic anyway, so I'm pretty happy with it. So now if you wanted, you could certainly take this into sculpt mode and add in stone detailings to the bottom, or if you wanted, you could also just do the kind of clean, almost cement block style stones by adding in more loops and just drawing them in and making cool cornerstones on the base and things like that. So there's definitely different options for how to make and stylize this bottom here. That's totally up to you of how you would want to do it. I've done different sculpting mode tutorials and stuff, and how to do the wall, which was really simple. All you have to do is, if you are interested in that, just do the Control R on each side. Make sure nothing's selected. I'm going to go ahead and just sharpen these guys, so that way it's still there. And then I'll grab these two edges, pull them back. Ooh, that was a bit far. And pull these guys down to kind of start working out some stones. So that's definitely an option. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that part real quick. Of course, if you didn't want them lined up like this, you could still do even more loops to try and make it more of kind of a subway tile overlapping, or I don't know what the proper term is. So you could certainly divvy that up that way, but I think I'm going to do it this way for now, since it's just going to be a little bit faster for the tutorial. I'll probably leave these cornerstones kind of as is. I might add another one down here. So if we, oops, wrong way, do Control R, add in these loops. Again, do border select, Shift E, make sure that's all sharpened. And I'm just going to grab this edge, pull that back, and pull this down, so that way it's at a good angle for us anyway. So it looks like that really is our cornerstone. They're kind of cut. I pull this one back, make our cornerstone a little bit bigger. Do our Control R. Shift E. Pull this back. I'm going to pull this one actually more at an angle, which I might fix this one too. Pull that over so again it's at an angle again. But again, we just have to bring this straight down. Just like that. And of course you could get it all framed up so that way you can size everything at the same time to get it the exact same dimensions. But I don't know, I kind of like it a little bit more varied, make it look more handcrafted anyway. So, oh, we already have this one over here, so I'll probably actually push it right over here. So we can bring that over. That will work for our other cornerstone. Grab this, bring it back at slightly at an angle, and then bring this down. And this one, bring these guys back. And draw these three down. And of course we might fix this angle a little bit to be more like that, so we get our cornerstone again. All right, so now we have our cornerstones in the front and back kind of worked out. We just want to add maybe another couple stones in the center here. So I probably want to do Control R. Maybe like that, so we get two. And actually that works out pretty well for our bottom and our top. I'm gonna do S and Y a little bit to make it a little bit larger. And actually I don't want them crooked. I want these to be a little bit more straight. So what I'm gonna do is just do SY0 and SY0. See, more like that. Push this back. I'm just trying to make sure it's not interfering with any of the stuff up here, which right now that's actually too far back. We need it to be still along there. So what I can do now that it's lined up is just get rid of that part so I can pull it back even further. And same for this part. Oops. All right, and pull that over. Maybe more like that. Cool. So do Control R and frame those out just like before. And again, I'm not trying to make this perfect, but you guys are more than welcome to make yours as perfect as you want. Make sure you sharpen it. Grab your edges. Pull them in. Grab your top edges and pull them down. So maybe something like that. The top one's definitely really large cornerstone. Maybe add some more lines in for there, but that's totally up to you. Or you could even try and scooch these guys over a bit, or actually might just use these to make them cornerstones right there too. No reason not to. I think they're a little bit large the way they are now. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but you guys get the idea of how to make them and can mess around with adding loops and making it prettier, that kind of thing. For now, I just want to move on with the tutorial and add in some other skulls and details to make this even better. So just like before, like I said, we'll use the low poly skull with the arches and things that we did before. So I'm just going to go ahead and import that. Now, of course, when you import it, it's a little large, coming in at over 5 feet. So we're going to go ahead and size that way down. And we can use this however we need. So again, I didn't make this. This is off of Thingiverse. I'll try to remember to link this afterward, but if you just go to Thingiverse and search low poly skull, it should come right up. Or even just skull, I think you can search and it comes up pretty quickly. So if we do, I want to go into side view, and it is clipped pretty nicely. I could probably even bring it out a little bit further if I wanted. So if we do Shift D and just pull that up, I guess I could make them a little larger because I think it would be cool to have kind of 3 inside. So let's undo that. I want them to be all the same size, so we'll just size the one up and then do Shift D. Kind of like that. But I do want, there we go. I didn't want it over the shelf, essentially. I wanted it to be tucked in enough. So I think that looks good. So I'm just going to do Shift D and drag that over to the other side. And if we want, we can hide our subdivision surface so that way we can just get our basic lines to make sure it's lined up how we want it to be. Cool. So I like the look of that. And I kind of want it to be on the front as well, kind of up here, or maybe even along the bottom would be neat, kind of how our altar has them. So if we just grab one, do Shift D again, you can either stack them in front. Oops, if I can grab it. Maybe do 2 like that. I'd be pretty intimidated if I saw a chair like this. I don't know about you. But you could even take it all the way around, or if you're happy with just that. I kind of want to see how it would look, kind of like how our altar is. So if we go back to the front with a singular one all the way around, I think that could be pretty interesting looking. So let's see, 7, rotate 90 degrees, minus sign. And you can either shift D along the whole way, or of course you could do an array modifier, which I think I'm going to try to do that real quick since it'll be a little bit easier. And then they'll be exactly the same. And we can offset them a little bit. Too much. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Shift D, rotate 180. Shift D, rotate 90. Just like that. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. So all we have to do is we'll apply these array modifiers. I'm going to go ahead and select everything. Do Control A, location, and also rotation and scale. And with our throne selected, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the thrones. That way I have our original saved. So that way if we ever need to go back and make changes before the skulls are applied, it'll be a lot easier. So I'll apply our mirror and apply our subdivision surface, but I'm also going to reapply those real quick. And I'm going to start with just 3 union Boolean modifiers. So let's do these 3 skulls real quick. So that is hard to see. So we're going to drag this out so we can see our numbers. So we have 6, 5, and 4. 6, 5, and 4. Looks like they didn't disappear. We'll go ahead and apply them. Tab into edit mode. Oh, we missed one. Oh, there we go. It was 3. Perfect. So that one worked out. It just wanted to psych us out a little bit. We'll go ahead and stick with this. Boolean, oops, union. We'll want 3 of those. 9, 8, and 7. Make sure you apply them. And they attached. Perfect. Boolean, union. $10 and $11. 12 and 13. All right, let's apply the last 3. And that's another reason it's easier to do the array modifiers. So that way you have a lot less Boolean modifiers to add as well. And they all, yep, all hollowed out properly. So there is our skull throne. I'm actually really happy with this. Hopefully you guys are happy with your creations as well. Let's go ahead and see how it looks. Okay, right now we'll have to pull it above the floor. Let's just push it over and pop it up. Awesome. So it'll sit right above, it'll watch the sacrifices going on or whatever is happening in this cultist lair or whatever you guys decide to create for your dungeons. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any requests or recommendations of what you would like to see in the future, that would be awesome. Don't forget, you can always join the Discord if you have more pertinent questions, or just, I don't know, you want to post pictures or anything like that. I'm really happy when you guys share your work. It's awesome. Don't forget to like and subscribe so I know you're enjoying this series, and I will see you guys next week.